हृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयं लिख्यते ततम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्मात्रम् आत्मत्वेन हृदि विषमनसा त्वं चिन्वता मज्जताव पवनचलनो आत्मनिष्ठो त्वं तेऽहं मृण्मयवज्जडात्मकमः बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्यतो माहं तत्तदपेतसुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः ओहं भावयुक्तो वरधिय दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फुटितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं सोऽहं स्फुटितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं. Namo Ramana. We begin today's satsang remembering Ramana, who shines at the center of all beings. In the Thursday satsangs, we read a verse, 2 verses selected from the Guru Vachaka Kovai, compiled by Muruganatha Swami, and we meditate on the meaning of those 2 verses, and we sit down for self-enquiry. At the end of the reading of each verse, followed by the meditation and self-enquiry, we'll have a summing up by Shri Venkatesh Deshpande, and the satsang will conclude by the offering of Ramana Uttara by Vaibhakshi and Prathanama, where we offer the flowers of attention to that self which brings us here, that self which makes us understand, that self which is aware of itself. We begin today's reading of the first verse chosen for today's satsang. It is from the section, The Fault of Immoderate Conduct. The fault of immoderate conduct. It's the verse 493. By the fault of consuming to excess. By the fault of consuming to excess. Even immortalizing ambrosia becomes deadly poison. Many are the ills that arise from the fault of immoderation. Those who realize the strenuous nature of excess are duty bound to banish it. Once again, the verse 493, by the fault of consuming to excess, even Immortalizing ambrosia becomes deadly poison. Many are the ills that arise through the fault of immoderation. Those who realize the renewous nature of excess are duty bound to banish it. Murugana Swami has a note. Note that in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that one who eats or fasts in excess and who sleeps or abstains from sleep in excess will not succeed in yoga. Note that in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that one who eats or fasts in excess and who sleeps or abstains from sleep in excess will not succeed in yoga. Among these practices, although abstaining from sleep and fasting are beneficial in spiritual life, if indulged in immoderately, they become obstacles. Bhagavan too exalted eating sattvic food in moderation as an aid to sadhana rather than fasting. Bhagavan, among these practices, although abstaining from sleep and fasting are beneficial in spiritual life, if indulged in immoderately, they become obstacles. Bhagavan too exalted sattvic food in moderation as an aid to sadhana rather than fasting. Here's an incident narrated by Krishna Bhikshu. He says, we had among us a devotee from Kerala called Nambiyar who would live on coconut alone. Finally, he went stark mad and would pace the ashram shouting, I am God, I am the Supreme, I am Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, I am all. Bhagavan said, he believed himself to be a great Vedantin, but really he has gone mad because he has devouring coconuts without measure and restraint. Coconuts are a complete food, and one coconut a day is about the limit. But when a man loses control, over himself, calamities are bound to occur. A good diet is free of all unnatural food, and the right food to be taken in great moderation. Bhagavan said, but when a man loses control over himself, calamities are bound to occur. A good diet is free of all unnatural food, and the right food is to be taken in great moderation. Here Bhagavan is talking about the immoderation, that which is not moderate. Bhagavan said we should lead a life of moderation, not do anything too excessively, including eating excessively or even not eating excessively, or sleeping excessively or not sleeping at all. Everything should be done in the modern way to keep our mind active and calm. And the only purpose of our lives is to get back to our nature. Krittale mana swastata kriya yoga bodhacha nishchitam. If one can abide the heart, it's the only thing that has to be done. It's the true karma. It's the true bhakti. That is the true yoga. And that is the true jnana, says Bhagavan in Upadeshasaram. So we need to lead a life of moderation. Nothing has to be done excessively. Tagore Swami used to say that you're sitting for a meditation and you have a great feeling of your mind sinking into the heart, even when there's that taste of that calmness or peace, one has to to get up from the self-enquiry and continue doing some active work, sattvic work like reading a book or singing a song or doing some seva has to be done. Because when you sit and do the long hours of self-enquiry, and one should not get bored of it. We should maintain that spirit, that activeness, that joy in the inquiry. And we need to do everything in moderation. You've heard of great saints like Tukaram. They used to spend the whole day in the thought of God. All the day, Tukaram used to sit in silence in Samadhi. But in all night, he used to sing the song and dance the praise of the spirit. So the whole day was divided into various activities. When we see Bhagavan Ramana himself, he had a beautiful daily routine where he get up early in the morning, work in the kitchen, and then he used to go for his morning walk, and then he'd come back to the hall and be available for the people. And when the bell rang, the breakfast was served, he used to go to the dining hall and come back to the hall and be available. And again, the lunch, he used to go to the dining hall and have the lunch with all the devotees and come back. And he was very, very natural in his approach. Even with the food, he used to say, sattvic food in moderation is enough. So such was his moderation that while working in the kitchen to taste the chutney or taste the dough, whether it is coming properly, he used to eat one dosa in the kitchen. So when he used to sit for the breakfast, you only used to take only one dosa, not excessively, only one dosa. And because all the other devotees were served two dosas, but Bhagavan knew that here, Bhagavan was very, very strict that already he had had his one share. So only one dosa he used to have that he is sitting for the breakfast. So such was his moderation. But there was no special request of special kind of food. All the food that was brought to the ashram was had without any difference. With the same joy. Even when the unbaked dosas was brought by a old lady, even that was accepted with great joy. When the whale of the woodcutter had come with yesterday's gruel, even that was appreciated by Bhagavan. He told, oh, this is yesterday's gruel, very, very good for health. It is very, very cooling. And then he drank that gruel from what that shepherd or the woodcutter had brought. So such was Bhagavan's naturalness. And Bhagavan tells us that we should be natural. And he reminds us that our true natural state is to abide in the heart. And all the other activities can go on as it is, but in moderation. And you don't have to pay special attention to all these activities. And when I say all these disciplines that we have in Indian culture, is to make our mind less active. Active means be vigilant, but it should not be thinking about what to do, what not to do, what is the choices. All the choices are cut so that the mind becomes calm and it is available for the inquiry. And Bhagavan says, whenever the thought is rising, need not pursue the thought, because if you pursue one thought, it is going to create more and more thought, excessive thoughts, the immoderation of thoughts. So as soon as the first thought arises, one need to question for whom is this thought? And the answer is for me. And quickly turn the attention to the heart with the question, who am I? And that will take us to our true nature, which is so natural, which is our true home, and make us abide there. Until then, with joy and love, we need to continue doing our inquiry. Let us sit down for self-inquiry for the next 8 The next verse chosen for us is the verse 906. The troubles that arise through the activities of creation and so on will not in the least touch the changeless self, just as the imperfections in the core elements, earth, water, fire, and air, will not in the slightest degree cling to the ether that gives them space. 906 verse 8. The troubles that arise through the activities of creation and so on will not in the least touch the changeless self, just as the imperfections in the core elements, earth, water, fire, and air, will not in the slightest degree cling to the ether that gives them space. The four elements, which are the earth, water, fire, and air, are contained in that fifth element called the ether. But the imperfection in these elements, if there's earth, the earth is made dirty with garbage. It does not affect the ether. If the air is polluted, the ether which contains that air or that which contains the water, it is untouched. And same with the fire cannot touch and burn the space. But without space, without ether, none of these elements actually exist. If there's no space, then if there's no space, if there is no space, how will the water flow? If there's no space, there cannot be fire. So the space is the basis for all these elements. At the same time, it is free and independent from all these elements. Similarly, Bhagavan says with the self, whatever activity you may be doing mundane activity of eating, sleeping, answering the nature's call. You can be doing these mundane activities. And you may be doing great activities. You may be helping everybody in the world. You may be creating new discoveries and creative inventions. Doesn't matter. The self is untouched. But we need to understand that it's only because of that self we are able to do anything, that we are able to do any activity, we are able to breathe. Because of that very same power within, we are able to hear, we are able to speak, we are able to see, we are able to smell, we are able to do all the activities in our body only by that power called the self. And that self is untouched by these activities. Whatever activity you are doing is untouched. It is ever shining like the sun. Because of the sun, all the activities in the earth is happening. Because of the sun, the water is getting evaporated, becoming clouds and falling down as rain. It is because of sun there is the weather change. It is because of sun the plants and trees are creating their own food. And we are getting food from the plants and trees. So all this is happening. The sun is actually making us awake, giving us food, giving us clothing, giving us shelter, giving us this nice environment to stay and live. But the sun is untouched. Sun does not claim that because of me all this is happening. If somebody has a sunburn because of the sheer heat of the sun, if somebody swoons because of the sun, then too, the sun is untouched. Such is the self, which is the basis for all activities. Yet it is. So Ramana says that let the activities go as detained by the Supreme. And one need to turn towards that self which is untouched. I remember a beautiful story which Nandakumarji used to share about Annamalai Swami. And Annamalai Swami was working for the Goshala. Ramana used to take special attention to the work that was being done. So he came to Annamalai Swami and told, this beautiful piece of granite is there, and you need to cut it this line. If it is not cut in this line, then the granite might break and it cannot be used for building the Goshala. So he told Annamalai Swami to pay keen attention on that cutting of this granite. And Ramanacentre Swami had interest in instructed the same thing to the worker who had to do that job. But that worker did a small mistake and the granite was broken. Ramanacentre Swami could not bear control his anger. He was filled with this rage and he slapped one on that worker. And after that, this constant guilt which was troubling him. Oh, I hit this person. But he was justifying. One had told this, I had told the same words to that worker, and he did not listen to what I had to say. So all this turmoil was going on in his mind. At the end of the day, Annamalai Swami used to come to Bhagavan and report to Bhagavan all that had happened. And Annamalai Swami reported, Bhagavan, morning you had instructed for that granite to be cut in a particular way, and it was not done. And I was so angry with that worker, I slapped him. And I'm feeling this guilt that why did I slap him? Why did I hurt that poor worker? The one told, why are you still carrying it? Hit him. That was, at that moment, you have to drop it and turn towards the duty that you are doing. So Ramana told that whatever work you may be doing, you may would have spoken something bad about somebody or something you're feeling guilty about. Bhagavan says, drop it. Because the self is untouched. Even the great jnanis, sometimes they used to act very, very rudely. They used to, like Sheikh Jagadeesh Swami, they used to act crazy. And by just their behavior, we cannot understand their internal state of mana. So one used to say, we cannot judge anybody by the outer behavior. Inversely, whatever behavior we may be doing, but the self is touched. So we need to understand this and not worry about our behaviors or about our thoughts. Instead, need to drop them and turn within with the question, who am I? Who is that I who is untouched by any of these activities? Who is that I who is like the ether, which is limitless, and yet it includes what is that I within us? We need to inquire and get back to that step. Let us sit down for self-enquiry for the next 10 minutes. I request Devati to keep the time this time of 10 minutes for meditation.
Yes, Ujwal.
Ramana. Summing up today's verses selected for us, Bhagavan says, the fault of immoderation, that we need to live the life of moderation. We need to lead a life where everything that life brings is accepted as it comes. And with that, what we need to do? Only the paramount duty of the human being who desires the highest to know himself, to know oneself. That one self which is there within us is the basis for all the activities. At the same time, it is untouched by any of those activities. So one need not fall into the loop of thought because of the activities that we are doing. Instead, Ramana says, even while we are engaged in the activity, question yourself within and ask, by which power able to do job? And with every activity, with every thought, consider it an opportunity to get back to that self which is powering these activities. And also remember that the self makes all the activity happen, but the self does not require any activity. It is full as it is. And we are that fullness. And Ramana says we need to get back to that fullness by dropping this false notion that we are this limited identity. When we drop that, the fullness is and then limitless. And let us conclude today's sunset with the offering of Ashtottara, Ramanashtottara. The Ramanashtottara will be chanted by Vaibhavji and Pal.
नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखभाविराशे यस्योर्विमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः ॐ श्रीमद्वारशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः ॐ तीव्राय नमः ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः ॐ पितुरादेशतः शौनशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः तपोमयाय नमः ॐ उदासीनाय नमः ॐ महायोगिने नमः ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः ॐ सवित्रे नमः Om Sthiraya Namaha. Om Tapakshapita Sarvangaya Namaha. Om Phallambuja Vilochanaya Namaha. Om Chandrikasitahasa Shri Manditananda Mandalaya Namaha. Om Chudavatyam Samasenaya Namaha. Om Churnidakhila Vibramaya Namaha. Om Veda Vedanta Tattvajnaya Namaha. Om Chinmudrine Namaha. Om Trigunatigaya Namaha. Om Virupaksha Guhavasaya Namaha. Om Virajadakalakrudaye Namaha. Om Uddiptanayanaye Namaha. Om Purnaya Namaha. Om Rachitachala Namaha. Om Gambhiraya Namaha. Om Paramacharyaya Namaha. Om Suprasannaya Namaha. Om Abhayapradaya Namaha. Om Dakshinasyanidhaya Namaha. Om Dhiraya Namaha. Om Dakshinabhimukhaya Namaha. Om Swaraje Namaha. Om Maharshaye Namaha. Om Bhagavate Namaha. Om Vidyaya Namaha. Om Bhumavidya Visharadaya Namaha. Om Vimalaya Namaha. Om Dirghadarshine Namaha. Om Aptaya Namaha. Om Rijumarga Pradarshakaya Namaha. Om Samadrishe Namaha. Om Satyadrishe Namaha. Om Satyaya Namaha. Om Prashantaya Namaha. Om Amitavikramaya Namaha. Om Sukumaraya Namaha. Om Sadanandaya Namaha. Om Mridabhashikane Namaha. Om Dayanavaya Namaha. Om Sri Shonachala Skandashramaniketanaya Namaha. Om Saddarshanopadeshe Namaha. Om Sadbhakta Vrinda Parivritaya Namaha. Om Ganesha Muni Vringena Sevita Visarodhaya Namaha. Om Gitopadesha Saradi Grantha Sanchinna Samshayaya Namaha. Om Varnashrama Matatitaya Namaha. Om Rasajnaya Namaha. Om Saumyaya Namaha. Om Atmavate Namaha. Om Sarvavanimatasthanam Aradhyaya Namaha. Om Sarvasagurine Namaha. Om Atma Ramaya Namaha. Om Mahabhagaya Namaha. Om Matramukti Vidhayakaya Namaha. Om Vinataya Namaha. Om Vinutaya Namaha. Om Vitraya Namaha. Om Munindraya Namaha. Om Pavakojvalaya Namaha. Om Darshanadaga Samharine Namaha. Om Maunena Swatmabodhakaya Namaha. Om Richantigar Sanidhyaya Namaha. Om Smaranadbandhamochakaya Namaha. Om Antastimira Chandamshave Namaha. Om Samsaranavatharakaya Namaha. Om Shonadrishastuti Namaha. Om Vidya Prakashakaya Namaha. Om Avichutanija Pradnyaya Namaha. Om Naisargika Mahatapase Namaha. Om Kamandaludhaya Namaha. Om Shubrakaupi Navasanaya Namaha. Om Guhaya Namaha. Om Dandapanaye Namaha. Om Kripapurnaya Namaha. Om Bhavarogavishavaraya Namaha. Om Skandaya Namaha. Om Devatamaya Namaha. Om Amartyaya Namaha. Om Senande Namaha. Om Purushottamaya Namaha. Om Sri Ramana Bhagavate Namaha. Sri Ramana Shotarishatanama Puja Samarpayami. Yasthano Arunachalasya Padayoho Srityajanim Prapyata Devyanugraha Supravaha Vashastadapya Bhavangataha Nishta Swagabhira Nityatapasa Lokan Punasekara Tasmai Shri Ramanayate Namaidam Lokotara Jyotishe Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Ramana, Namo Ramana, Bible shape Prathanama.
Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana to all the Satsangis for being a part. Om Namo Bhagavate.
Namo Ramana Ujwal. Belated happy birthday wishes, Ujwal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Namo Ramana Ujwal sir. Namo Ramana everyone.
Namo Ramana Ujwal. Nice answer. Namo.
Thank you. Namo. Thank you.